Three wishes to grant to the treasury professionals. I would say one on top of mind, better pay, right? Not just geographically, but better pay all around. Banker hours, like there's no reason for us to stay at work when the bank's closed. And then more bank holidays. So maybe the government could do more about instituting more bank holidays, because if there's more bank holidays, there's more treasury holidays.
Before we start, I want to highlight the biggest challenge I've noticed in the Treasury industry. It's professionals finding it tough to build an impactful brand. That's exactly why I put together an ebook, Building and Managing an Impactful Professional Brand. It has helped over 100 professionals define their unique values and stand out in their careers. In this ebook, you'll find practical tips to build a strong network and sharpen the skills you need to succeed in this industry. And the best part? It's completely free. Grab your copy now by clicking the link in the description below. Hello, everyone. This is Ernie Humphrey. I'm your host for the Treasury Truth or Dare podcast. Today, I'm honored to have with me Hugo Arenas. He's currently serves as a senior finance manager at Aspentech. Before we dive into the Truth or Dare piece of the podcast, why don't you go ahead and give us a little bit about your background before we dive in? And of course, I'm honored to have you as a guest.
Absolutely. Thank you, Ernie, so much for the welcome. Thrilled to be here. I've been a treasury professional for about 11 years. 2018, I earned my certification as a treasury professional. Renewed it in 2021, has to be renewed every 3 years, so just renewed it again in 2024. Currently serving at Aspentech as Ernie mentioned, as a managing LCs and instruments, cash forecasting and the like. Really excited to be here again and to be here.
All right, thank you so much. We might touch on this, but I bet LCs is a little bit of an interesting challenge these days with some of the little global dynamics going on. Okay, so those of you who haven't had the opportunity to see the podcast yet, our format is just like Truth or Dare. We'll have several rounds of Truth or Dare, and I will ask Hugo at the beginning of each round, would you like to do a Treasury Truth or would you like to do a Dare? And then about halfway through, I will allow Hugo the opportunity to give me a dare, which I will, of course, accept. I don't know, gladly accept, but I'm interested to see what he has to throw at me. So, Hugo, to kick us off today, would you like to start off with a truth or a dare?
Let's start with the truth.
All right, all right. So, can you share with us in which areas of Treasury are you most passionate? Give us a little background and as to why.
Yeah, absolutely. One of the areas I'm most passionate about is the collaborative work. One of the cool parts of working in Treasury is that you get to collaborate with folks across all departments. Sometimes when you're an accountant or you're in legal or AP, you only get to do those things. But as a treasury professional, you get to work from everyone from legal to the sales team. So it's really neat to use that part and to know that every day is different, right? When you collaborate with legal, it's different than you collaborate with AP.
So that really aligns with myself. So I have this view that soft skills are just as maybe more important on the technology front. So we definitely share that passion, and that's what I try and instill in those that I'm trying to inspire. Get us a little more training, and people need to be trained on soft skills. So I like to say that as well. Okay, let's go ahead and pivot to our next round here. Are you gonna go for another truth? Are you ready to go out on the dare diving board here?
Let's switch it up and go for a dare.
All right, let's see here. Can you please share with us a mistake you've made in managing people across international borders and what you've learned from it?
One of the biggest mistakes I've learned and lessons from it is being able to understand time differences, right? And understanding that folks need to have a time after work. And so if I'm collaborating, as we just touched on, LCs, and there's for India that I need to collaborate with, I need to make sure that I make time on my calendar to accommodate their calendars, right? And ensure that I'm being sensitive and mindful of not only their time, but also my team's time. So managing expectations is one of the things, and then managing those expectations when it comes to those time differences. If I ask for something that I need by tomorrow morning, I can't ask my team in India in my morning and expect them to get that to me the next morning, right? They need a little bit more leadway, and so managing those time differences and then managing expectations.
Okay, thank you so much. And again, this is dovetailing. One of those things that I kind of learned as well is that with those time differences come some cultural differences in the way that people listen and the way they react and the way you should go about getting to know them a little bit. So I've kind of learned some of those things myself. Do you have any of those things you might want to touch on a little bit that you might have learned across different countries that you've worked with folks in?
It's really great to try to connect to those local folks and understand, their customs and the local traditions. I know when communicating with in the Middle East and others where I know Islam is big. I know that I can greet them and during their Ramadan celebration and give them a happy Ramadan wish. So understanding their time off also where there's banking differences and teams in various other nations and countries have different times where they get off and they celebrate other traditions, and so also being mindful in that sense.
All right, fantastic. All right, so let's get back here to our next round. We're gonna do another dare. We're gonna go back up and do another truth for us here.
All right, let's do that truth.
All right. I really like this question because so part of what I'm trying to do here is get people to understand and promote a Treasury brand. So, do you sense that there are any myths about the role of Treasury that exists that you would like to just touch on and help us alleviate a little bit?
Yeah, absolutely. I think one of the funny things that happens is when I meet someone new that that I just met, and it's always funny introducing what we do for our line of work, and it usually goes like, "Hey, what do you do for a living?" And I say, "Hey, I work in Treasury." And they actually look at me, with real interest. Oh, for the government, right? Because they automatically think the Treasury Department, the government. Oh, no, but no, 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 not the government. Not at least not yet. Maybe one day, but Treasury exists in every company, or at least should, to manage a company's treasure or money, right? And so that's what I do as a treasury professional, whether that corporation or that company is doing, petrochemicals, or that corporation is a cybersecurity company. I can go in and manage the treasury department. And that's sort of a myth, or it's sort of a funny thing that occurs whenever I meet someone. They always think that it has to be the government, but no, it's really great that companies, and I think it's more of a growing niche work that you do as a treasury professional, where you're managing that company's treasure and you're managing their money, their investments, where usually in the past maybe fell to accounting or to a finance department.
Right. Yeah, I think that kind of speaks to, I think I've had other guests we've talked about we have to do some educating and promoting the brand of Treasury internally, organizations as well. So elevate that brand as well. So do you like actively engage people when you go to an organization to let them know what you do at all, or what do you do internally to help kind of build that brand and get people to understand what you do?
Yeah, absolutely. One of the things I like to do when I first join a company, in that introduction email, right? It's lay out what I'm responsible for, and so that's everything from risk management to everyone in the company gets their payroll every 2 weeks, or every week, whatever that may be, to ensure an operations are there, and then to know that I'm there to facilitate everything, right? Like I mentioned earlier, Treasury is very collaborative. Always engaging legal, AP. So that's one of the first things I do is engage with every department and say, I'm here new in Treasury, and I'm here to help. Whatever roadblock you may have right now, I'm here to alleviate it, and I'm here to make the company better from a treasury perspective. But I know I'm not only limited to treasury. I can collaborate with everyone else.
Oh, thank you so much. Okay, let's go. Let you give me a dare. So let me know what you got for me.
Okay, dare. Can you? I dare you to do 5 push-ups.
Oh, I can't. I can't even do
No,
that.
no, fine.
No. Well, I can. I'm at my desk here. I'll do.
Oh, there you go. 2, 3, 4. There you go.
That's a good. Hey, that would have been a good dare. One of my previous guests, not me, was an international bodybuilder, so
Oh wow.
he would have probably done like
He
one
would.
handed push ups and clapped in the middle and all that good stuff. So, yeah, we can get some physical comedy going. So now, when you pick another dare, I'm gonna have a little special. No, that's all right. I'll be kind. Okay, so everybody loves when Ernie gets embarrassed. Hey, that's why I'm here. All right, because Treasury's fun. Okay, you gonna go with the truth or dare?
Let's do another truth.
Okay, here's one, and it's not kind of a tough question we can talk about a little bit. And this is a question that I like to ask, or a truth I'd like people to help me with. What do you think we can do to better support those newer to the treasury profession? We always see treasurer this, treasurer that, treasurer. So, what do you think that we can do to help the younger folks in treasury?
Yeah, I agree that that's a tough question. It's something that's definitely open to discussion. I think one of the main I know I can help as someone that has been in the treasury world for 11 years is just offer mentorship, right? If I have an analyst that is, first year or second year into their treasury career, they're really excited. I know how I was, as a young treasury professional. So I know they have a lot of questions. They have a lot of maybe some doubts of how that they can continue their treasure career. How do I mentor them in the sense that it's a great career to be a part of, and to continue those certifications that are needed to be a treasure professional, not necessarily needed to have a job, but definitely needed from a educational perspective, right? And so I look forward to when someone new joins, or when I join a new company and there's young professionals there that I can mentor, from mentorship to just discussing it more, like you said, whenever you meet someone new, informing them of what I do, and what I can do to help a company.
Yeah, so let me ask you this question for those who are listening who might be newer to the treasury profession. If someone worked for you, right, what could they do to kind of get your attention and present themselves in a good light where you'd be like, wow, this person really is, I'd like to mentor that person. So, what are things that maybe people have done in the past that have kind of inspired you to reach out to them a little more?
Yeah, I think asking questions. I think one of the main ways for young folks, or young professionals, and certainly someone new to the company, is to ask questions. Ask why. Sometimes that can be very uncomfortable, right? So it's just someone that's been at the company, but asking why we do this, having that fresh perspective. And so I think it's very important to ask questions, to have that fresh perspective of someone new, and understanding why we are doing it, and then go an extra above, where saying extra step above, where you say, well, can we do it this way, or suggest other things, suggest other scenarios.
Okay, right. So, just to dovetail along that in mentorship and support. So, I know that you are a CTP. So, would you advise younger folks to pursue that certification? And have you helped mentor someone who you've kind of nudged over to pursue that in their career at all?
That's funny in aggregation, because it's happened recently. I definitely nudge folks. Whenever I arrive in a new company, I let them know of what it takes to earn your CTP. I definitely would advise someone to try to earn it, because it challenges you, right? There's a class you have to take, that you have to attend. And so as a working professional, you might need to put in that extra work of staying late and going to class, one day out of the week for several weeks, and then taking that exam and passing it, and being confident enough in your knowledge of the body of work, where you're comfortable, and you take that exam and you pass it. I was, very fortunate to pass it in my first try. And so I definitely, let folks know that, because it's a really difficult test from a examination perspective. And so, yeah, definitely would encourage folks to take the class, and go ahead and take the exam. And just as nudging folks along, there's a thread that in the AFP website, or an email, where folks ask questions about the CTP, right? And sometimes those come to me, and I'm happy to answer those questions. Be like, hey, this is why this particular question is this way, or why this answer is this way, even though a lot of people think it's B, it's really A.
So, first of all, thank you for doing that and all the other things that you do supporting the treasury profession. So, we appreciate that. Just go back one more time to the CTP exam. Looking back, the content changes because I've helped write the book for the changes. But what is the one thing that you did which you think really was had the biggest impact on your success? Was it your schedule? Was it the class? Was it the answering the practice questions? What was it you think that helped you the most?
I believe what helped me the most was just applying myself in things that I was already doing. right? So sometimes when you, as a professional and you start taking in educational work, or you have to read a chapter in the book, it's difficult because you're already doing things in your professional life or your personal life. And so what I would do is say I would have to, in my daily schedule, I already had to do a 3 mile run. Well, I would take it indoors and do a 5 mile walk and on the treadmill, and then just read the chapter while I was doing my walk, right? And so squeezing in those chapters while you're doing other menial work, you have to, fold the laundry, or put the body of work next to you, fold the laundry, and at least read the highlights of the chapters, right? And just take that intake of the body of work. And then, like you mentioned early, Ernie, the exam questions are really critical because it gives you a preview of what you're going to have, right? And so take those practice exams. And then lastly, I would say skip the questions that you're not really sure about, because you only have a certain amount of time to get those questions done. And so you skip the questions you're not sure about, move on to the ones that you know for sure,
Absolutely.
come back. And that's what I did when I took it, I just skipped the ones I wasn't sure about. I came back and then I finished them in time when I was more certain. Sometimes when you read through the other questions, it gives you a clue to a previous one.
Oh, I love your tips. Manage your time. It also helps keep you in the right mindset because you can get negative if you think I don't know this. You miss those all in a row. And the other thing was just that you have to have a continual commitment and not try and cram everything in the day before the exam because that's just not productive. So I've seen people do that plenty of times. Okay, go on our next round here. We're going to do a truth or a dare.
Let's do a dare.
I'll give you a choice on a dare I've never done before. I want you to share with me your guilty pleasure of a song or a guilty pleasure of a movie that you watch that people might be a little surprised about.
So I'm going to share my guilty pleasure of a song.
All right.
And so let's get this clear, guys. Miley Cyrus is a great singer. She has a great voice, right? No one doubts that Miley Cyrus has a great voice. But Party in the USA was not a song made for commercial intake, right? It was made for a promotional, I think, commercial for certain brand that won't be mentioned. And it wasn't even supposed to go, I guess, for the world. But it's a really catchy song, and it's really, very kind of ABC song, but it's really, catchy. And if it comes on the radio and I'm in the shower, I'm gonna sing it.
Let's go with another round here. You going to go with the truth or a dare for us?
Let's go with another truth.
Okay. So this is probably a good way for us to kind of wrap things up from our time together. And of course, I may have comments. I always do. All right. I'm going to give you 3 wishes to grant on behalf of the Treasury profession. What are those wishes?
3 wishes to grant to the treasurer professionals. I would say 1, on top of mind, better pay, right? Not just geographically, but better pay all around. Banker hours, like there's no reason for us to stay at work when the bank's closed. And then more bank holidays. So maybe the government could do more about instituting more bank holidays, because if there's more bank holidays, there's more treasury holidays.
Thank you very much, Hugo, for being a guest, and thank you for being a great sport, and thank you for I might have sweated because I actually did a few push-ups, and thank you for all that you do for the Treasury profession. So I encourage folks that are listening to go ahead and reach out to Hugo on LinkedIn, especially if you're looking at the CTP exam and pursuing that certification. I think it'd be a great resource for you. So to my listeners, have the courage to be great in everything that you do and dare to live your Treasury truths in your life. Till next time, everyone. Thank you.
Thanks for watching the show. I hope you guys liked it. Share your thoughts in the comments below. Stay tuned and hit the subscribe button for more.